Hey everyone, it is that time again, end of month when August has just finished and we are at the very start of September. Kids are about to go back into school, so that's it, summer's over, and we wanted to give you all of the information about exactly what is going on here in the Halifax market for the month of August, so let's go. So whether you are moving here, whether you're in the middle of buying a home, whether you're in the middle of selling a home, or thinking of doing all of it, we've got the stats to actually give you some information so you know exactly what's going on. Because once you are informed of the market, you can make a lot smarter decisions. So let's have a quick look at everything that's gone on in the month of August for the Halifax area. It always starts with the selling price. So the Halifax selling price is just over $595,500 right now for the month of August. Now, last month that was $616, so we're down 3% on last month. But last year it was $598, so it's like scarily close to exactly how we were this time last year. Now, also when you look at the sale to list price on that puts us at just 100.4% for this month. So, I mean, we said it last month, we're basically at sale price is more or less list price, save for like $2,000 this month. So not really that much of a change. And when you go back to last month, it was 100.2%, so even closer than this month. And last year, though, was 101.4%. So last year, there was obviously a lot more kind of over asking price for sure. And it just shows that the market is definitely one of those changing markets right now where you've got to be very careful about where you list your property in terms of getting two things. Number one, viewings on the property. And then the second and more important thing, of course, is the actual offers that are going to take place and get your house actually sold. So that's the average selling price. Now, when we look at the next big factor, which is called days on market, those are at 29 days on market. Last month, 29 days on market. Last year, 31. So we're doing a little bit better than last year, but you're still looking at an average of 1 month in the whole of HRM to get your house sold. Now, of course, many of the markets are very different. So you've got to make sure that when we're talking about markets, we're talking about your specific, like, kind of little niche market in that area. So, you know, for instance, if you look at Fairview is 3 days on market. So Fairview is selling silly fast. Southdale Manor Park, that one up there is 0 days on market. So literally sold straight away. Dartmouth on average is around about 15 to 20 days. So you can see that there's definitely some faster markets. You know, we'll go into the details of the actual top selling markets as well, and we'll give you the information on those. Now, the number of sold properties, we are sitting at 416 houses sold. Last month, 442. So we're actually down 6% on last month. But compared to last year was only 366 homes. So we're kind of up 14% on that number, which is a big jump. Given that the price has not really changed too much, to be up 14% on the number of sales shows how kind of compressed last year was, because 366 is not a lot of houses, you know, especially when we're looking, you know, at quite a chunk of houses actually for sale as well. So speaking of those, let's get into the actives. Now, we are at 853 houses active, 856 last month. Again, like very close in terms of the number of houses active for sale. But last year, that was 668. So not a lot of houses last year for sale. And, you know, obviously less sales took place as well. So we're up like 28% on the number of homes active for sale this year compared to last year. And it definitely, last year definitely felt like, as we were kind of like heading in towards that fall market, end of summer, that it really did feel a little bit compressed in terms of what we were actually having in terms of sales, in terms of houses that were actually available for sale. So we are definitely way up on that. Like 28% up is a big number. Okay, let's have a look at the number of months inventory. This is how many months of inventory we got right now that if we said no more listings, nothing goes up for sale, how long, based on the previous month, would it take us to sell? And we're at we're at 2.1 months of inventory, because 853 for sale, 416 sold, just over 2 months. We should have exhausted everything for sale. Now, we know that's not the case and it moves every month, but it's a really good indicator of how strong a market we are. And that still puts us in that seller's market, which is, I mean, it definitely feels a little bit that way, because, you look at 100.4%, call it 100%, sale to list price is very, very similar. So that would kind of stack up that, yes, we're still in a seller's market. It's just not that fast and furious, crazy seller's market that we've had, like, go back a couple of years ago. So it's definitely slowing down, but it's still, like, activity wise, I mean, we're 29 days on market. We're 2.1 months of inventory. Like, we're doing really well. And the average price point, it's kind of hovering around that. What are we at? Like $595 to $620, something like that. So it's a pretty healthy average sale price, especially when you go back 5 years ago when it was probably $300 or $295 or something. So we're doing really well on those numbers. Now, when we like to look, because I always like to look at the sales to new listing ratio, this is how many sales sold in the month versus how many new listings came on the month. And it's a very good indicator of, like, are we really chewing into the inventory? Are we getting through that? Or are we literally selling the same amount of houses that are coming up for sale? So this month we were at 87%. So we're not selling as many as we're actually putting on the market, but equally we're not building the inventory, because there'll be some cancelled, there'll be some expired, some withdrawals in that number of the actual houses that were for sale in the month as well. So we're not really eating into the inventory. But when you look at last month, that was 81%. When you look at last year, that was 86%. So we're definitely back into Halifax kind of following the standard normal trend that we usually see, where, it's a fairly stable market. Like, we don't really rock it up by a lot of numbers. We don't really, like, drop by a lot of numbers either. So it's good to see that we're kind of back into that kind of, almost like, here's the spring market, dies off a little bit in the summer, brings back up again for the fall, dies off for the winter, that kind of double bump market. And that's really what we're starting to see again when you look at some of the numbers on here. And especially when you compare to last year. Last year was definitely a very changeable year, whereas this year seems to be following a little bit more of that standard pattern. So we're kind of putting a little bit more normalcy, making the market a bit more normal. That's easier to say. Now let's get into some of those top markets that we talk about. All right, number one this month was Timberley Prospect, St. Margaret's Bay area. That had 45 sales, which makes it the top market, because we do the top market based on the number of sales, not based on the number of price. The average price point there was $604,000, 100.3% sale to list price. So, roughly $1,700 over asking. That's not much. Number of houses active was 135, and that gave them just 3 months of inventory. So quite a bit of inventory, but when you certainly look at the price point, up in the 600 number, it's very, like, basically determining the average of the market. Now when we go to number two, we are back, couldn't get further away from this area. We're actually up in East Hants, Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance area. Their average sale price up there was $478,500. But interestingly, their sale to list price was 98.6%, which basically gives a $7,000 lower than actual asking price. Now, they did have a little bit longer days on market, 36 days on market, 41 homes sold, 89 active, which gives them 2.2 months of inventory. So the big thing there is people are looking for a little bit more value, and they're certainly willing to travel a little bit further outside of HRM to kind of get into that area up there, just because it's value for money. Certainly the biggest price point, I mean, we'll look at all of these apart from the third market. We're definitely in that average price point here. Now, speaking of that third market, it's Bedford again, back into that top three. Average sale price there was $726,000. Sale to list price of 99.1%. So roughly a $6,500 price decrease from listing to actually selling price. 24 days on market, 30 homes sold there. 52 on average actually active for sale, so 1.7 months. So not a lot of inventory there. And again, we're starting to see like Parks of Bedford West, it's not a huge number in terms of like the actual makeup of the homes that were sold in Bedford as well. So we're kind of going back to a little bit more of a traditional area. And it's going to be interesting because definitely Parks of Bedford West has those waves of where a lot of new listings come on and where they basically stay where they are and then they all sell and then we're back again. So it just shows that I think the building timeline for some of these new developments is starting to stretch out a little bit and maybe take a little bit more time. So those are all the stats. Those are your top 3 markets. If you want to get into the detail of your specific market, then by all means, drop a little comment down below and we will get in touch with you and provide you some analysis on your specific market, just so then you absolutely know that you're dealing with just your market and not the whole of HRM, which there's 416 sales. So we want to get specific on just your area. So any questions, again, you can either kind of drop them a message down below in the comments and we'll do our best to get you the answer.